Hello, Michelle again, and today we're going to talk about animal bones and how we estimate the age of the animal when it was killed or when it died, when we find them in the archaeological record. And so the first way we look at that is we look at the fusion of the epiphyses on bones. And so most long bones in animals have growth plates on the end, and so the bone is growing. And then the epiphysis part, which is where it attaches to another bone, is not fused to the bone yet as a small animal because this bone needs to keep growing. If this piece was attached, it wouldn't have any space to get bigger and to grow. And so this is a femur, and I've got the femoral head, which is what goes into your pelvis and your hip. And you can see how it sets on there, but it's completely not attached right now. And then I've got the other end of this femur as well, and you can see it attaches, but it's not connected fully in any way. And interestingly, every bone in the body of humans and animals fuses at a different time. And so we've got charts and things that tell us which bones fuse at what age in months and years. And it's an estimate. Every person and every animal grows a little bit differently, but it's kind of standardized throughout a species. And even more interestingly, the epiphyses at the proximal and distal, which is the close and far end, fuse at different times as well. So if we have a bone and only one end is fused, that tells us something too. So we look at all the different charts and research that says this is a raccoon, so when do raccoon femurs, when does the proximal end fuse, when does the distal end fuse, and we can kind of get an age range of when this raccoon died. And so then I've got an older raccoon here, and you can see that this isn't three bones anymore. Now this is just one solid bone. This piece is completely attached on the femoral head. It could go right in the hip and work perfectly. But the other end, you can see a line still where it's not completely fused, but it's pretty close to being finished and being a completely adult solid bone. So this would give us information too about how old this animal is, because we know it's not quite fully grown, but it's definitely much older than this other one that wasn't fused at all. And so if we have enough of a single raccoon or enough of a bunch of different raccoons, we could kind of start to tell what age these raccoons are dying or being hunted or killed in a certain site or a certain area. And then another way we can look at age is looking at teeth. And so this again is from the young raccoon and the older raccoon. This raccoon does seem to have its adult teeth, but it's only got a couple of them. A lot of them are missing. But if you look carefully, you can see how pointy those teeth are. They have a really sharp end because as a young raccoon, it hasn't eaten a lot of food yet. It hasn't used its teeth and ground them down. But when you look at this older one, it's tough to see, but you can see that this tooth is much less pointed than that other one that I showed you. And the other ones too, they're just a little bit rounded off. And then if I turn it this way, you can really see that those back teeth especially are worn down. And we don't have the example from the young raccoon of how they should look, but they should be a lot more jaggedy and pointy as well when they're just coming out, brand new teeth coming out of the mandible. So looking at teeth, we can see, and a lot of veterinarian studies actually talk about how teeth are ground down. And a lot of those studies come out of herd animals. So I have a sheep skull here, and you can see these teeth. You can see the bright white is the enamel on the teeth, and then you see that a little bit more yellowy stuff is the dentin in the teeth. And as sheep chew, they grind their teeth down. It happens in humans as well, but we go to the dentist, we can get cavities filled, and we can get dental procedures to help stop some of that wear. But animals don't do that, so we can look at the wear on their teeth. And then interestingly, for some animals, there are these charts, and you can look at how much wear is on the different teeth, and you can start to estimate how old the animal is based on how much wear it has on its teeth, because animals' teeth wear fairly consistently as they eat over time, and people found that. And so there's a whole lot more to it than just looking at a single tooth and saying, oh, this sheep must be 4 years old. You need a lot of teeth, and it's a little bit of statistics and stuff involved, but it's pretty neat that we can start to look at the ages of animals. And so then we can do that, cool, right? But why? Why would we want to? Why would we take the time? And it's really kind of a neat thing to do when you're looking at herded animals that are kept by humans, because you can start to look at some of the ways that people are using the animals. Are the animals all being kept until they're really old? In which case maybe they're being used for like wool or milk or something like that, that they can keep producing that throughout their lifetime, so it's worth feeding them and keeping them around. But if they're used for meat, then they're probably killed a little bit younger, because you don't want to eat meat from a really old animal. That meat might have gotten a little bit tougher, so you probably wait till the animal's a couple of years old. It's got a lot of meat on it, but it's not very old and it'll be tough, so that's when you kill it. Or then you might see too that there are old animals and young animals, and that might be from milk production, as the mother animal has to have a baby in order to produce the milk, but then you don't want that baby animal around, so you might kill and eat the baby animal and keep the mother around, and that would produce two very different sets of bones that you're seeing commingled. And so that's for animals that are herded, but in Parkin, the Native American people who lived here weren't herding animals, but they were hunting animals. And so when we look at wild animal populations and start looking, or archaeological assemblages of wild animals that are at a Native American site, we can start to see a little bit of maybe when people were hunting for different animals. So we know that most animals are born in the spring. So if we're seeing, say, deer bones at an archaeological site that are 6 months old or something, we can assume that people were hunting those animals in the fall because they've lived about that long at that point. But if we see specimens that are a year old, then maybe we can start to assume that people were hunting in the spring. And if we see no young animal bones, but only older animal bones, then maybe we can see that people were very careful about not hunting the young animals. If we see only young animal bones, we can see that maybe people wanted that meat or those resources for some reason. And you can do it with raccoons, you can talk about these things with deer. It just brings up a whole bunch of more interesting things that you can start to think about what we can tell about the environment and how things worked, what resources people were using, when they were using them, that kind of thing, when we can get more information that you wouldn't even necessarily think might be useful from archaeological assemblages like the age of a raccoon. So I think that's really neat, and I think those are kind of the main topics I wanted to talk about with faunal analysis and animal bones. And I'll give you this book if you're trying to identify animal bones or even get some interesting information about what you can do with faunal remains. This is a good book. It's got a lot of cool illustrations in the back of the different bones. They're not the very best illustrations ever, but they give you a good starting place, and then you can start to Google or look into further research on that topic. So I hope this was interesting for you. This is my favorite topic, so I guess this one got a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.